Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, that's great. Why don't I continue right on then? Because what I'll do is I'll take one of those cases that you did, and I'm going to do a little what if. So, while the idea of that Polizon case is still fresh in our minds, I'll recap that really the problem here is that the client in many ways didn't do much due diligence. They just kind of jumped in and told us, they have some objectives on compression resistance, spalling, freeze, air bubble distribution, but they didn't quantify that. Okay, and the courts say that systematic investigation involves extremely accurate measurements and analysis of those measurements. In the Northwest Hydraulics case, they actually go on to say, without such measurement analysis, systematic investigation cannot exist. From a previous case called SAS Manufacturing. So again, having objective, quantifiable measurements is critical. Having yes, no, can we do it is interesting, but it's not what they're looking for. So if you can't provide extremely accurate measurements, you may not be doing systematic investigation. Now, what we're told here is the key variables of uncertainty uh, involved around adding the pozzolan, the effects of latex, and modifying the mixing method. So I'm saying on the basis of that, we've got a couple different areas that could theoretically form a basis for technological uncertainty. Again, what I feel the client's weakness here is they really didn't do enough due diligence about what are the limits of any of those methodologies. So I took one, for instance, and did a due diligence search through Google Patents, like Jay showed earlier, and said, what if I search for pozzolan with mobile mixers? And sure enough, within a quick time, I found a patent that was filed in 2005, granted in 2008, using mobile mixers with suitable catalysts of pozzolan as accelerators. So I'm saying, well, this sounds a lot like what we're doing here. So and it's a patented thing, so maybe they actually talk about the science, which would be patentable. Let's see what this company did in relation to the same kinds of things that we're doing that would be patentable and perhaps illustrate technological advancement. So it was a company called Roman Cement, and we're talking about a brief summary invention that they wanted to replace a portion of their cement with pozzolan to increase yields of concrete with higher durability, low chloride permeability, reduce creep, increase resistance to chemical attack, and lower cost and environmental impact. So these are all quantifiable good things that could increase the concrete, which we'd want to measure. We'd like to provide that. And we're told that also limits the use, their use is limited since too much will retard the strength development, which is exactly the situation that was faced by Beton in their project. So we're told here that this invention relates to the pozzolan cement blends that are particle sized, optimized to replace it. So now this patent makes me think, or indicates, without being an expert in cement, that particle size could be a critical part of this process. Okay? So we said, well, pozzolan is a variable, and now I'm saying within that, maybe there's sub-variables such as particle size. So what we do is we look at the patent itself, and I look at the claims, and these are just for ideas, and it talks about having a distribution of differently sized pozzolan particles with different diameters, nanometers, and microns of size, right? And that certain particles are too large and certain particles are too small. So they talk about that. So I'm saying this in itself illustrates a variable of uncertainty and patentable variable of uncertainty. Had the client started to look at the pozzolan and the relation with silicates and sulfurs that were clearly illustrated here, maybe this would be a basis of technological uncertainty. They also go on to say not only is the size of it, but the method of manufacturing the cement, how to stream it, how to stream the cement itself with the pozzolan particles, how to grind them, how to blend them, all of which appear to have technological uncertainty. And I'm saying some of these actually may have been faced by Beton and lead to technological conclusions, but we're not told about any of this. So what we're trying to do here is illustrate that this case lost because it really didn't focus on the science to the degree that it could have. The landmark case of Northwest Hydraulics says that, quote, incremental improvements were added to the act just to clarify that most scientific or technological advancement are infinitesimally small incremental improvements to existing technologies. Okay? So we don't have to be 50% or even 10% better than we were before. We could be trying to be a tenth of 1% better than we were before, as long as it involves technological uncertainty. And the technological uncertainty is the underlying factor that must be met there. Okay? So again, they say that the advance doesn't have to be spectacular, and often things that look routine in hindsight were very problematic or required experimentation. So the point that we want to make here is that ultimately, the difference between an eligible and an ineligible project, the Beton project versus the one that we looked here with the cement, could be the basis of due diligence work that will allow you to identify the hypothesis, will allow you to be very specific about what variables are known and unknown within the predictive matrix or models that we have. And in my view, had the client done that kind of work, they may have been eligible to claim that project. Okay, I'll wrap it up on that one. And maybe at this point, Earl, I've got Angela with us if we want to continue right on the hot topping, on the court procedures, or if we want to briefly, I don't mind taking a little break if we've got questions or people with anything they want to do there. Okay, so if there's no immediate questions, I'm going to pass it over to Angela, and she's going to talk about two new court processes and procedures that could be relevant to SR&ED claimants.